It's the Off-Grid Pet Family Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's the Off-Grid Prep Family Podcast.
Yeah.
Episode 47. So many preps, so little time. It can be a little bit overwhelming, especially in the beginning, or especially now. Do you have prepper overwhelm?
No.
No.
Well, sometimes.
Are visions of mylar bags and fish antibiotics swimming around your head? Are you suffering from paralyzing perfection? I do that a lot. Like, I don't want to move forward unless I can do it perfectly.
Yes.
So then I just don't do anything at all.
Absolutely.
But I think about it a lot, especially from like 2 to 5 a.m. That's really helpful. It can also seem like maybe it's too late and you might as well not bother.
Yeah.
With inflation.
Early on, we had that feeling a lot.
Now it's like you go to buy anything and it's 3 times as much as it should be. And you're like, oh, whatever.
5 years ago, even just a few years ago, like before the pandemic, canola oil was $5.99 a jug.
Sometimes it would go
gallon?
on sale for $2.99 a gallon.
So on average, let's say it was $4 a gallon.
Yeah.
Today at the store, it was $19.
Yeah, $18.99. Wow.
But
And it's poison. Like,
it
it's
is
not
poison.
even good for you.
the olive oil, the gallon of olive oil beside it was only $24.99. Like, it hasn't
Which is,
skyrocketed
it's
at all.
more, but it's not as much.
Not as much. So
yeah.
it's like,
I don't know.
trying to get you to buy olive oil? Because
I don't think so. I
that's
feel
good
like
strategy.
that's not the plan, but okay. It can feel hopeless. It can be deflating, especially now with the price of everything.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that you aren't feeling like that, or we're here to give you hope if you are.
Yeah, there's lots of deals still.
Yeah, and you know,
more things though. Our son analyzes finance, and he said that he expects a serious fall in the price of consumer goods next year, which we've seen other people talking about that because they overproduced during the pandemic to achieve wild profits, and now nobody has any money.
Yeah.
so now there's all these goods sitting
There'll
in
be
warehouses,
deals, and then it'll be land and houses,
Yeah.
and you need to be poised for the deals.
Yeah, be ready, be patient.
So
part of prepping is just being aware of these things.
yeah,
Probably
keeping an eye on things.
Quite possibly the largest and most important part of preparing is preparing yourself
Yeah.
for inevitable things that happen if you pay attention.
And other
watch
people are
what's
like,
happening.
wow, I would never have thought. And you're like, have you not watched any reports in the last 6 to 12 months? Like, really? Are you only watching NBC?
And of course things mostly are lies.
CBC is totally going to tell you the truth, right? You'll be totally prepared for anything if you just listen to CBC.
If you watch, get a sense of what's happening in the world, you can start to predict these trends. And it is possible. It is possible to be ready for things.
Yeah, we have a 3-step plan for prioritizing your preps and sticking to the plan instead of getting distracted by every clearance bag of rice you stumble upon. But first, we should talk about 1 Year Food. That's our latest book. It's available on Amazon, $15.99. You can print it yourself if you get it on our site. It's about half the price, but then you have to print it.
Yeah.
Frankly, who has time for that? It talks you through a whole year of food storage for a large family, or like if you have a large mag or people that are relying upon you. And it gives you the lists and the inventories, the recipes you can make, how often, little checklists for checking them off, and even some guides for growing the majority of it yourself. And you can get it on Amazon today. 1 year of food, or you can get it on our site, offgridprepfamily.com. So, priorities. Step 1. Come to terms with the fact that it is not going to get any cheaper.
No, outside of crazy deals, which do happen.
Yeah.
Generally, most things, it's going to keep going up.
Yeah, you have to get rid of that normalcy bias. It's really tough, especially if you're the one who's used to doing the grocery shopping and you have it in your head how much things should cost per pound or per ounce or whatever. The prices are crazy and they're only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And the shortages are real. We have experienced that a lot this year. This is our first formula baby, and there's a formula shortage.
Like right after he was born.
It's
Within a
amazing. We had 6
Yeah.
babies who didn't need formula,
Yeah.
and 1 who does. And of course, that's when there's a formula shortage.
Serious formula shortage.
Yeah,
Like, we had to get
we had to have
relatives
our
help
friends
out.
and relatives like finding us the specific formula that he needed
Yeah.
as his little tummy could take, and
Yeah.
it was a thing. It was a big stressor.
Today was cornstarch.
Yeah, there's no cornstarch.
There was no
The whole
cornstarch on the
section's
grocery
empty.
shelf.
Just like random.
Gone. Just not there.
And what was it at Canadian Tire last week? Grease, like for tractors.
Oh yeah, like tubes of grease that you put into a grease gun.
Yeah,
The entire shelf was gone, and the guy said it was 6 months.
it's been 6 months.
6 months since they've had grease.
They also didn't have the large, like 5-gallon pails of oil.
Right.
Like if you had like heavy equipment,
Yeah.
they've been gone. It's just the whole section is just empty. At least in the grocery store, they have the decency of shuffling the shelves around so it doesn't look bare and sad.
Yeah.
But in Canadian Tire, they don't care. They
No.
just leave the shelves empty so it looks really sad and forlorn. Like, what are you supposed to do?
I don't know.
I don't know. What's the substitute for grease? Like, in electric chainsaws, if you don't
I
have
ha-
chainsaw oil, we use vegetable oil.
Vegetable oil. You can use just about any thin oil
Yeah.
in electric chainsaws.
But for grease,
I had to. So we bought a mountain bike off of Amazon, and in true, it ticked all the boxes.
Yeah.
Aluminium frame, disc brakes, it had all the things. But after 2 years of teenage kids riding it pretty hard on the
Yeah.
gravel, dusty driveway, one day I go out to move it and I hear this creak, 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 and I start looking at it and I'm like, what's wrong with this hub and what's wrong with the pedal crankshaft and everything's what? So I tear the thing apart, and in true false economy fashion, even though it ticked all the boxes,
yeah.
it was only $500, even with an aluminum frame, which is amazing. However, I feel like they intentionally didn't seal the bearings.
Yeah, they made sure to do something wrong, so you have to buy a new
you've
one
got bearings that are emptying of grease slowly.
constantly. Yeah.
But in what I'm going to say real prepper fashion, I said, you know what? I'm not having it.
Yeah.
So I tore apart the wheel hubs on the counter. Never done this before. And all the little balls came falling out.
Yeah.
Tiny little steel balls.
I'm still finding them in my kitchen.
Yeah, rattle all over the counter.
Yeah.
And I used Vaseline.
Yeah.
And it worked for, gosh, like 6 months now.
Yeah.
And they still ride the you-know-what out of the bike.
Grease would be better,
Grease would be better.
but we have
Yeah.
things stored that are okay.
Actually, in one of the bearings,
Redundancy.
in one of them, I ran out of Vaseline. I used Vicks. I did. It was Vicks.
It's a mentholated
Because it's
bike.
Vaseline.
I bet you it keeps the bugs away. Oh, have we come up
maybe.
with something
Yeah.
like a anti-insect bike?
Yeah, but like I love every so often you hear stories of like this guy had a steam powered whatever, and
Right.
he burned wood and drove his truck around.
Right.
Like this is what people did during depressions.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we should be preparing that way, as like opening our
just
minds.
your mind. How else
like,
can I do this?
How else can I do this?
Yeah.
And that's a really important
Instead of
step.
just lamenting the fact that
that it doesn't work
it doesn't-
anymore.
there
Make it
isn't
work.
any.
Figure
Yeah.
out a way to make it work.
that's awesome.
I thought so.
The mentholated bike.
Yeah.
So basically, if you are still in the habit of looking at things from a viewpoint of 2 or 5 or 10 years ago prices, you're not going to buy anything.
No.
Like, I still feel like ground beef should be 99 cents a pound, and I feel like I'm not going to buy it unless it is.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to eat bugs.
Yeah, so we're happy to pay $4.99 a pound
for
or
the
$4 a
nice,
pound.
local, organic, grass-fed. Yeah, I'm
the
good
beef,
with that.
The beef we buy is stamped, like it's
Yeah.
inspected meat. We're not cutting
Yeah.
any corners, but we found a couple of sources.
If you buy it in big
People
enough
who
quantities,
raise their own cows.
they feed them potatoes here because
They do.
there's potatoes.
Actually, we've been buying milk lately, and we've been talking about that
Mm-hmm.
and making cheese out of it, and it's going pretty well. We get lots of butter and
We're
cheese.
getting better at it. We're getting faster.
We're noticing the price points and what it costs to buy cheese versus doing it ourselves.
And the
we're saving-
gas to go get that
Yeah,
milk
we're
is
saving
getting
a little bit of money.
Yeah,
The only reason we're saving money is because we don't charge for our time.
right.
So it's like an activity. Really, the only way to do your own cheese and milk economically is to have your own cows.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was getting at is we had 2 Amish milk suppliers, these 2 families who would save 5 gallons each every week for us. And one of them was noticeably yellower than the other, which is good.
Yeah.
It makes a nice
More
yellow butter and
Yeah.
more cream. And I discovered that family was feeding their cows rolled oats. I actually haven't told you this yet.
Interesting.
When we went there on Friday, the other family, the north one, they feed them corn.
Oh.
Yeah, and the corn-fed cows don't produce as much. Now,
Huh.
this could be due to the variety of corn
Right.
when they do it.
The time of the year,
And
the animal
a
itself.
funny side to that is I was talking to the girl who filled the bucket for us, and she was kind of bashful about it. She said, "I'm really sorry. I only have 18 liters, not the 20 or 23 or whatever we get in a pail." And as I said, "No, that's okay. Don't worry about it." She said, "No, the cows they got out into the corn patch and they ate too much,
So they don't produce as
so they
much?
don't produce it. They had tummy ache."
Oh, that's funny.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's so many factors, and
Yeah.
once again, part of preparing is just rolling with it.
Yeah. Have alternate sources.
Yeah.
You know, I can buy cheese. I can also make it myself. I have all the stuff to do that. We know how now.
Yeah.
Or we could just buy it at the store.
Yeah.
You just keep pivoting back and forth, whatever makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I literally have cans of freeze-dried food in my pantry right now that are older than some of my children. And I think about how cheap they are compared to the fresh grocery store equivalent today. And I kick myself for not buying more at the time. And at the time, that can of freeze-dried eggs was really steep.
Yeah.
And it worked out to 33 cents an egg. And now, I specifically remember doing the math. I can't buy eggs at the grocery store for that price. I can't buy them for 3 times that price.
No.
So, there you go. It's
Yeah.
not going to get cheaper.
It's not going to get cheaper, no.
And you just have to come to terms with the fact that it's not going to get cheaper and just move forward. So step 1 is realizing that now you're not helping yourself by waiting another day. So step 2 is assess your gaps.
This is tricky.
Have an honest look at your preps and figure out where your gaps are. You can download our pantry inventory or the 1 year of food and see where you're at just compared to where we like to be.
Yeah.
Don't get bogged down in doing a full inventory because frankly, you don't have the luxury of time if that's going to take you a week.
Yeah.
If you have basically nothing, be honest with yourself about that. And you'll really be surprised at how much it takes just to sustain one person for any real length of time. Same with water and household supplies and toiletries, batteries, first aid. It's a lot of stuff. So you probably don't have as many weeks worth as you think. Some people encourage a 3-step approach, building a 3-day emergency supply, a bug out bag, then a 2-week supply, then 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. That's a great approach during normal times, but this is not normal times. In my opinion, we need to be more aggressive and more strategic.
Mm-hmm.
You can't spend $300 on bug out bags and 3-day supplies if you don't have rice and beans and eggs and oats in your pantry, to last a few months.
There's a lot of false stuff out there where it makes it seem luxurious, where people live in vans and cars and buses. And
Yeah, and if you just have your Swiss Army knife and some wilderness skills, right?
we've talked about this before. The true step 1 of being prepared is being on land that you own.
There's that.
It's the most difficult thing for an organized evil society to take from you. Not that they won't, and then they haven't. They have many times in the past, but it's the most difficult.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to take somebody living in their bus in a Walmart parking lot and say, "No,
Get out.
out you get."
We don't have any more Walmart.
And we've
Goodbye.
lived in a motorhome.
We have.
We
It's
did
tough.
the extended vacation. It's nearly impossible. It's impossible.
Nobody
It
wants you there.
costs
It's
so much money.
expensive, and you're constantly looking for the next place to be, and it's exhausting.
And we did it when gas was 80 cents a liter.
I can't imagine doing it now.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So these are not normal times. It's not the time to build your ultimate $300 bug out bag. We're going to ask you to look at the 4 basic categories first. If you want to use the old adage, it's beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. But we all know that before any of that comes water.
Yeah.
If you don't have water, you're not going to make it. So water, beans, bullets, and Band-Aids.
Fortunately, we live in a time now where water still comes from the sky in most places.
And most places, it's not illegal to catch it yet. And if you live somewhere where it is, please move.
Please move. You're in the wrong place.
That's a
that
sign
place,
that all those things are bad.
It's going down.
That's a trigger
It's a
right
Portland,
there.
Oregon thing right there.
So to be a bit gentler, we're talking about water, food, defense, and first aid.
Mm-hmm.
So within the food category, I also include all those other things like toilet paper, dish soap, baby wipes, toothpaste. Speaking of which, we should probably get to our next sponsor.
Yeah.
So our first sponsor of the day is Jace Medical. It's emergency antibiotics for traveling or your emergency kit. It's available in Canada and the USA. You can get life-saving antibiotics and thorough instructions for your family at Jace Medical. And if you go to our friends and affiliates page, offgridprepfamily.com, click on the Friends tab, you can get $15 off. And if you have coverage, you can probably get that reimbursed at least partially, which is an even better deal.
Yeah, it is. Our second sponsor is Thrive Life Foods. Thrive Life makes it easy to stock your shelves with food that stays fresh. They make really high quality freeze-dried foods from natural ingredients. Vitamins and nutrients are locked in, so your food stays fresh for years.
Up to 25 years.
You can get the coupon code on the link on our friends page, and you can get 15% off your first order.
And they've got a bunch of good specials this month. Peaches and corn. Everybody loves that
Nice.
freeze-dried corn. It's awesome. So step 2, we're talking about water, beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. Look at these 4 categories, and if there's one thing where you have 0 or nearly 0 preps, get something in that category. Some people like to just prep the fun category, and that's no way to roll. If you have no plan for defending your family and supplies, just stop and get something in place. It could be closed circuit cameras, motion sensors, some sort of self-defense tool, even landscaping that doesn't look terribly friendly or accessible, right? Or a couple well-placed no trespassing signs.
Yeah.
We have some funny ones in our store.
And it really does start with preparing yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I would say the most important step in preparation is just being aware of things.
Just not being like, oh,
Figuring
I'm
out-
at the whim of the universe.
Figuring out how your neighbors work, why. This is like a study into how humans behave.
Yeah, and human dynamics. And then you know when something's a little off.
Yeah.
Honing
Honing your instincts.
Yeah,
really.
and like personal protective things like pepper spray or bear spray, if that's legal where you live. Always having just like a basic everyday carry on you and teaching your older kids to do the same. Those are things that you should be doing to tick off that box on a very basic level.
Yeah, and teaching, like we teach our kids as well when it's appropriate, how to read people.
Yeah.
You know, why they're doing what they're doing.
Our kids are way better at the RBFs than I am.
What's an RBF?
The resting face.
Oh!
Because I apparently have the tell me your life story and ask me for money face.
Still, yes.
I just can't get rid of it. And our kids are way better at just dead-eyeing strangers.
we went to the dentist the other day for the first time in a while. And our oldest daughter, I took the girls. And our oldest daughter, well, she was in there. I was with the youngest. And I went in to check on the eldest, and she, right away, I was like, whoa, she is dominating this dental hygienist.
Yeah, she was terrified.
She was, this poor little dental hygienist, who was much older than her, like almost my age, was just terrified of this girl. And she was like, she was stuttering and like over enunciating and making sure she was being polite. And later on, I recapped, and I was like, honey, what were you doing? She's like, what do you mean? And I kind of described, you were like really being pushy, not pushy, but just like
assertive.
Yeah,
Our
RBF.
girls
Yeah,
are assertive.
very assertive.
And I always tried to be assertive, and I've never been able to pull that off.
But isn't that great? The girls are. And so I described, and once it clicked what she appeared, she said, "Oh no, I was really nervous." But her default
Was to be
was a
assertive.
shield,
Yeah.
and I was
And mine is to be a pushover.
and I was super proud of that.
So that's step one,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it really
do you want
is.
to talk about Band-Aids as a category?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to overlook because it's not very fun.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I used a Band-Aid. The other day I skinned my knuckles and I just bled out for a while and forgot about
Electrical
it.
tape.
No,
If it's really bad, electrical tape. And if it's really, really bad, crazy glue.
well, where we grew up, it was really arid.
yeah.
It was almost high desert, like Colorado
Yeah.
area. And here it's really humid, so I find you really have to air your cuts out.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, Band-Aid is only a temporary thing.
Because it gets gross
It does.
fast.
Yeah, if you let it. But if you don't have a well-stocked first aid kit, you can go to the dollar store, which they sell Band-Aid brand Band-Aids.
There's a lot of stuff at the dollar store for first
And
aid.
our dollar stores are crap compared
To the States, for
yeah,
sure.
Even other provinces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can go to the drugstore, just buy everything you need. Don't worry about quick clot and sutures and tourniquets and all the fancy stuff if you don't have the basics like Tylenol and Band-Aids.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, you aren't going to be dealing with a trauma situation. It's going to be boo-boos and fevers and tummy aches, which can add up and add a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And if you get the basics on that squared away, next we can talk about beans.
Sure. So when I'm thinking about my pantry, on a very basic level, I'm looking for water, carbs, fat, protein, basic toiletries. I would not recommend moving on to fruits and nuts and chocolate chips if you have not yet stored a year's worth of oil, flour, oats, rice, beans, protein. The great thing is that most of that stuff is super easy and still pretty cheap to stock up on quickly. Flour has gone up, but it's still not that expensive of a food. And if you're wondering what a year's worth of food looks like in a general sense, I would recommend checking out 1 year of food, or our food storage calculator spreadsheet. It's $2 on our website in our store.
Yeah, it's really in depth.
Yeah, you can customize that on the spreadsheet and include your meals and what your family eats and calculate up your grocery list really quick. So after giving these areas a realistic look, you're going to have a better idea of where you need to spend your energy to get the most prepared you can as quickly as possible, because that's what we need to do these days.
Step 3 is make a plan and stick to it.
Yeah. This is not the time to get distracted with beekeeping.
Yeah.
If you know it's going to cost you $40 to buy a year's worth of sugar, do not put $400 worth of bees.
At least.
Yeah.
And which ties into our recent cheese making experiences.
Yeah.
Once we did the math and accounted for some gas, not accounting for our time,
Yes.
which is 2 days.
Yeah.
We're hoping we can do it in 1 day tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to try and really blast through it tomorrow in 1 day.
It takes a long time to make
So
cheese.
we're talking 10 gallons of milk. We get approximately $117 worth of dairy from it.
Yeah.
More if you're counting the fact that it's like grass-fed and local and blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest. If I was at the grocery store right now, I'd be buying the cheapest butter. The cheapest
Whatever you can
cheese.
get your hands
Whatever
on.
was on sale.
We're lucky.
So that's what I compare it to.
Yeah. We get our milk from the Amish, so
Yeah.
they don't really... They use some chemicals and some
Yeah.
things, but not with their cows. They
Yeah.
feed them hay and oats or hay and corn, depending
Yeah.
on the family. And we pay $50 for the 10 gallons of milk. And we end up getting about $117 worth of product out of it.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot.
We weighed it like to the gram last week.
We
Cream, butter, ricotta.
Now it's
cheddar
all
cheese.
enormously high quality.
It's a very, very good. It is labor intensive though.
We use a culture that we bought online,
Right. So once we bought the culture,
and
it
it
was
was $10.
$10.
So that really ate into the
But
single batch.
But we keep using it over and over again,
Yeah.
so that's no longer an issue.
And that was a leap. That was a leap of faith to
Yeah.
like, maybe we can use this culture again, because it is not cost effective to buy
$10
of the
every
culture
single
every
week.
batch.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it worked out. There were other things that we could do, yogurt or cream cheese, and it's just not...
We do eat a lot of yogurt in the summer. I guess
Yeah.
when we have a lot of like cucumbers and tomatoes and stuff, like it goes with the
Yeah.
food. But in the winter, we only really use yogurt or sour cream as like a dollop on
Yeah.
borscht or
Yeah,
something.
so it's not worth it to put in the effort.
Yeah.
So we're making, let's say we're saving $50, but we're putting in 2 days really hard labor.
Yeah. You don't really get
So,
anything else done in the kitchen
No,
those 2
the
days.
whole weekend.
It's not even like canning where you put it in and then an hour later you come back. It's like,
Yeah.
it's pretty labor intensive.
So this is like kind of apocalyptic stuff, and the only way it would work economically, if you could still buy cheese and milk and butter, is if you owned your own cow, and you could keep getting that cow pregnant.
Yes, reliably.
So you have to have a bull or
Because
several
we
bulls.
do
So
know
then you've
people
got-
who have cows
Mhm.
for dairy, and the next year that cow doesn't get bred. It's open, and they
right.
try to breed it, and they pay for AI, and just for whatever reason, it doesn't take. And then you're feeding a cow for another year, but you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, and that assumes you can buy feed. So all of this prepping stuff, you
It's a
can't
system.
help. It's a system. You
It's
can't
all
help but
a
start
system.
Asking the big questions, and we were very surprised. Like, what do we pay per kilogram for cheese? It's like 18.
About
good
18
cheese.
for good cheese, or a 15 for like not so great cheese.
Yeah, so we're talking $10 a pound.
I don't
Right?
know how much a pound is.
2.2.
The best I can get
pounds
is
in a kilogram.
$14.99 per kilogram.
Yeah. Okay. So $15 a kilogram for this stuff.
I'll do the math.
Yeah.
$14.99. You say a pound's 2.2.
Yeah.
Oh.
Divided by 2.2.
Sorry, it's late, folks. $6.81 per pound is our
Okay.
best
Yeah.
price for cheese right now.
And we get meat cheaper than that right now.
So you might as well just eat
we buy
meat.
meat. Exactly. You might as
Yeah.
well eat meat. So for the amount of effort it takes to make cheese, you'd have to be really hooked on cheese. And we're paying premiums. So this is part of preparing. Because
It's always being ready to be like, you know what, this is good. I'm glad I have the skill.
Yeah.
I'm glad I have the equipment. I've figured it out, but I'm going to set this to the side now and put in some more long-term stores.
Because, like, a really important part of this, and I've said this a few times this episode, preparing is preparing your mind and how you see things and how you understand things.
You have to be flexible and make good choices and not be married to something that you did.
No, and I personally couldn't have cared less in school.
Right.
I could go in as a kid or as a young adult and knock off an 80 and leave because it was just the dumbest
stuff.
garbage. However, now
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in hard school.
Right.
Like you're making decisions that affect your life in
Constantly.
real time.
And a bad decision at this point can be quite costly.
We lost two wheels of cheese? A wheel and a half.
We lost a wheel and a half to cheese to yeast
to yeast.
because we had our sourdough starter in the fridge at the
that's
same
like
time.
$75 worth of cheese. We lost.
We ate it.
Well, we cooked it. We
Yeah.
did find a recipe
You can
online,
cook it
and it kills the yeast.
Yeah,
And it's kind of a soft pizza
but it's
cheese.
not the way that you would want to
it's-
eat it.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So there are many factors, and really preparing means learning all this stuff.
Yeah, and then you make a plan.
Yep.
You stick to it, but you're constantly analyzing.
Constantly. Yeah.
Because sometimes you have to pivot. And these days, when prices are constantly, oh, it's cheaper at Costco. Oh, it's cheaper at the grocery store. Oh, now I'm getting it from the Amish. Oh, now it's the restaurant store. Every single week, we're comparing prices. Every single week, we're making a new plan. We have a general outline of our goals for the year. If you have one of our planners, you also have that general outline of goals for the year. But you have to constantly be shifting these days if you want to make the best possible use of your money and time.
In conjunction with all of the other steps.
Yeah.
Being prepared with the fence and Band-Aids and
All those things. The
Yeah.
water, the beans, the bullets, the Band-Aids.
be ready to pivot.
Yeah. I guess that's step that's step 4.
Yeah.
Be ready to pivot. That's
Yeah.
another B. So we could keep going, but let's just say that if you want our suggested list of the first 300 things to prep, you can get it for free at offgridprepfamily.com on the store page. There's like a printable section. There's some free things. Our Morse code cheat sheet is also on there. If you want to decode our Morse message, the first person who does that gets something free off our website. Your choice.
Nice.
You know, a printable. not a battery backup thing, but a printable.
Yeah.
I'll give you whatever you want if you can figure out what that is. Thank you to everyone for listening, and we hope you get a lot of supplies squared away this month.
Yeah, get ready.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself mentally.
It's only going to get more expensive and more crazy. If you thought this was helpful, if you could share it with a friend or share it on social media, we always appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll see more of what we're up to this fall. Fall is really a busy time for us, and it probably is for you too.
Yeah,
but we
it
try
is.
to post what we do when we think it's interesting.
Yeah. Thanks again for listening, everyone, and have a great night. Be prepared and enjoy yourself.